This is a Dragon Rapide cabin class airliner for 1930s, mid-1930s. Stayed in production until the late 1930s when it was replaced by a military airplane. However, it proved to be so useful that they brought it back into production in the 40s, and the airplane stayed in service well into the 60s. This particular airplane was restored to King Edward VIII's colors, and he was the king that abdicated the throne to Mary Wallace Simpson. The original airplane in the airline version would have had wicker seats. This has leather seats all around, and it's one of the few airplanes that has a zipper on it. You can see the zipper over my shoulder on the belly, and that was used to service the airplane rather than having to tear all the fabric out. This is Mr. Yagan, the owner of the museum's one of his favorite airplanes. He gives rides in it often, flies it often, and really enjoys the airplane. And as you can tell, he had it beautifully restored.
Yeah.
Nelson, this airplane was one of the most important airplanes in World War II, as it trained almost all of the pilots that flew any type of airplane in World War II. You've flown it. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Why it was such a good trainer and how it flies?
Yeah, great flying airplane. It was a good trainer because it was hard to fly. They started the people there. That's when they started learning to fly. I was in this airplane. So, it is a hard airplane to fly on the ground and keep directional down the runway. You have to stay on your toes. It takes a lot of practice. In the air, it's a great flying airplane in the air. It's strong. They can do aerobatics with it, which they taught in this airplane also. So you don't have to worry about the strength of the airplane. Like I said before, it flies very nice, but then you got to land it. When you come in to land it, it's a different airplane on handling on the ground. So it just made a good pilot. They went from this to another trainer that finally stepped them into the fighter. So it was a good airplane to learn.
Nelson, wasn't this Mr. Yagan's first acquisition for the museum?
I believe it was. I think Mr. Yagan wanted a military type airplane, and this is the first one he bought and learned to fly, and he still flies a fair amount. So you must enjoy the airplane. Of course, he has his choice of a lot of airplanes to fly, but he comes back to this fairly often.
Nelson, this airplane is called a Corsair and was most made famous by Pappy Boyington, but it did not go into service right away. Can you tell me a little bit of why, after it was designed and built, what the problems were?
Well, mainly it was designed in 1939 or so, and actually went in service in the early 40s, but didn't go in service with the Navy because it was a hard airplane to land on the carriers. It had a lot of accidents landing it on the carriers. Although the British figured it out, they did a curving approach to the carrier, which enabled them to see the carrier deck the whole time. The Marines flew it until, I think, probably in 1944 or so. Then the Navy finally learned how to fly the things off the carrier, and from then on we used them, and it was really one heck of an airplane. It's the one that just ate the zeros up. The guys loved to fly it. It was called Whistling Death. The Japs named it Whistling Death because in a dive, the intakes for the oil coolers whistled, and I just scared the heck out of them, I guess. So,
and don't we still have a pilot here at the museum who flies it?
Oh yeah, Obi O'Brien, really neat guy. He's I think Obi's 82. Flew the airplanes in Korea and flies this one for us. And boy, he's a joy to watch fly.